Clutter and debt are the same problem wearing two different outfits. Both are a pile of decisions you kept putting off. Both feel fine on any single day and crushing when you finally add them up. And both clear out faster than you think once you stop trying to fix everything at once and start following a few plain rules instead. That is what the next 25 minutes are. 40 rules that quiet the noise in your bank account and your home, used by people who look calm because they finally are. So start with the rule that everything else hangs on. Rule 1. Own less, and you will owe less. Every object you carry home asks for something after the purchase. Space, cleaning, insurance, repair, and the low hum of attention that whispers you still have to deal with that someday. A garage packed with things you meant to use is not wealth. It is a storage bill you pay in square footage and quiet guilt. Empty shelves are not the point. The point is how much of your money and your mind a thing keeps taking long after the receipt is gone. Before you buy, ask what this will cost you every month, not just today. Rule 2. Give every dollar one job before the month begins. Money with no assignment drifts, and drifting money gets spent on nothing you will ever remember. Sit down once, list what comes in, and send each dollar somewhere on paper before it leaves your account. Bills, savings, food, fun, all of it named in advance. A plan that fits on a single page beats a perfect spreadsheet you never open. You are not trying to predict the month perfectly, you are just refusing to let it happen to you by accident. Rule 3. Automate the parts that matter so you never have to feel motivated. Willpower is a terrible savings plan. Set your savings and your investing to move on their own the day after payday, before you can talk yourself out of it. What you want is a system that keeps working while you are tired, distracted, or having a rotten week, because those are exactly the weeks that decide everything. Done right, the most important money moves of your life happen without you lifting a finger. Rule 4. Keep your money in as few accounts as you can stand. 6 half-forgotten logins do not make you diversified. They make you confused. 1 checking account for the bills, 1 high-yield savings for the cushion, 1 place to invest. When you can see everything in a single glance, you stop making expensive mistakes in the dark, and you stop paying fees on accounts you forgot you even had. Rule 5. Stop watching what you earn and start watching what you keep. 2 people can bring home the same paycheck and live in completely different worlds, and the difference is almost never the raise. It is the share that never gets spent. Your savings rate, the slice of every dollar that stays with you, is the truest measure of whether you are getting freer or just busier. Even 10 or 15% held steady for years quietly builds a life that a much larger income spent down to zero never will. Rule 6. Move your emergency fund out of a big bank savings account today. Here is why it stings to skip this one. The largest banks in the country pay about 0.1% on savings, while the top online banks pay around 4%, according to the FDIC and current rate trackers. Take a nurse named Tessa. She kept $10,000 of savings at her old bank and earned about $1 for the entire year. She moved that exact same $10,000 into a high-yield account and now earns roughly $400 a year for doing nothing but switching. The money is just as safe in both places. The only difference is that one account was awake and the other one had been asleep the whole time. Rule 7. Build a small emergency fund before you chase anything else. Start with 1 month of expenses, then grow toward 3 to 6 months once the high-interest debt is handled. This is not caution for its own sake. Bankrate found in 2026 that only about 3 in 10 Americans could cover a surprise $1,000 bill from savings, and a third would go into debt over it. Even among the people who do have a fund, one survey put the typical balance at just $5,000, half of what it had been a year earlier. A cushion is the thing that keeps one bad Tuesday from turning into 2 years of payments. Rule 8. Do not let cash sit around earning nothing. Money you are not spending soon and not investing yet still has a job, which is to earn while it waits. Idle cash in a zero-interest checking account is the financial version of a room full of boxes you never bother to unpack. It is not doing anything wrong. It is just not doing anything at all. Put it somewhere it works. Rule 9. Bank where they are not quietly reaching into your pocket. Monthly maintenance fees, overdraft charges, minimum balance penalties, all of it is money leaving for nothing in return. Plenty of online banks and credit unions charge none of it. Read your last 3 statements, circle every fee you find, and move your accounts to somewhere that treats your money like it belongs to you. Rule 10. Put time between you and anything you want but do not need. For small wants, wait 24 hours. For big ones, write the item on a list and wait a full 30 days before you allow yourself to buy it. Most urges die quietly on that list, and the ones that survive are the purchases you actually meant to make. The television you would have bought on a Friday night rarely survives to the following Friday. The waiting costs you nothing and saves you constantly. Rule 11. Judge a purchase by cost per use, not by the price on the tag. A $40 pair of shoes worn twice is expensive. A good coat worn every winter for 10 years is cheap. Run that quick division in your head before you pay, and the cheap-feeling impulse buys start to look like the waste they really are, while the sturdy, boring, lasting things start to look like the bargains. Rule 12. Buy fewer things and buy the ones that last. One solid pan, one good pair of boots, one reliable bag beats a drawer full of replacements you rebuy every single year. Owning less does not mean owning worse. More often it means owning better, because you finally have the room in your budget to choose quality one time instead of choosing cheap forever. Rule 13. Live by one in, one out. Nothing new comes home until something old leaves. A new shirt means an old shirt goes to the donation bag. This one habit keeps the clutter from silently creeping back, and it forces a small, honest reckoning at the exact moment of purchase, which is the one moment honesty is hardest. Rule 14. Unsubscribe from the emails built to make you spend. Every sale alert and back-in-stock nudge is a small machine designed to turn your calm into a purchase. You did not wake up that morning wanting the item. Someone paid good money to remind you it exists. Cut off the reminders, and a surprising amount of your impulse spending simply disappears without you having to fight it. Rule 15. Delete your saved card from the shopping apps. When buying takes a single tap, you buy on feeling. When you have to stand up, find your wallet, and type the numbers, you buy on need. That tiny bit of friction is one of the most effective budgeting tools you will ever use, and it does not cost a cent to set up. Rule 16. Stop shopping to fix a mood. Bored, sad, restless, or celebrating, all of it gets aimed at a checkout screen, and the lift never lasts past the doorbell. Name what you are actually feeling, and the cart usually empties itself. A walk fixes more than a package does, and it does not show up on next month's statement. Rule 17. Respect the small leaks because they are not small. Take a warehouse worker named Franklin who bought lunch out 5 days a week at around $15 a time. That is close to $4,000 a year. When he saw that the same money invested at a normal long-run return could grow to roughly $170,000 over 20 years, the sandwich stopped feeling free. He did not quit lunch out entirely. He packed it 3 days out of 5 and kept 2 for himself, and even that modest split bent the whole trajectory of his savings. You do not have to cut every joy. You just have to know which quiet habits are secretly the size of a down payment. Rule 18. Audit every subscription once a quarter, out loud, one by one. One survey put the average household at around $273 a month across streaming, apps, and memberships, and found that almost 9 in 10 people guessed low, many of them by more than $200 a month. Open your statement, read each recurring charge aloud, and say whether it earned its place this quarter. The ones you hesitate on are already telling you the answer. Rule 19. Cancel anything you have not touched in 30 days. Not next month, not after you use it one more time to justify keeping it. Now, the gym you visited twice in January, the app you have not opened since, the service you forgot was even charging you. Companies quietly count on your forgetting. That forgetting is their entire business model, and canceling is simply how you opt back out of it. Rule 20. For the 2 or 3 subscriptions you genuinely love, pay once a year instead of every month. Annual billing is usually cheaper, and it forces one honest decision a year rather than 12 invisible ones. You feel the full cost, you weigh it, and you choose on purpose instead of leaking small amounts you never really sat down and decided to spend. Rule 21. Attack high-interest debt like your peace depends on it, because it does. The average credit card now charges around 22% to people who carry a balance, according to the Federal Reserve. Watch what that actually does. A retail manager named Loretta carried $5,000 and paid only the minimum each month. On that path, she would spend more than 11 years clearing it and hand the bank almost $9,000 in interest, on top of the original $5,000. She raised her payment to $250 a month and was finished in a little over 2 years, for around $1,300 of interest. The debt was identical. What changed was the size of the payment and the number of years she let it own her. Rule 22. Never carry a card balance you could have paid off. A credit card is a genuine convenience right up until the day you do not clear it, and then it becomes the most expensive money in your entire life. If you cannot pay it in full this month, treat the card as switched off until you can. Living on cash for a stretch is not a punishment. It is a reset. Rule 23. Use one card, not 5. One statement, one due date, one set of rewards you actually understand. Juggling a wallet full of cards is how due dates get missed and interest quietly sneaks back in. One card also makes your spending legible. You can look at a single statement at the end of the month and actually understand where the money went instead of piecing it together from 5 different places. Rule 24. Pick one payoff order and follow it without second-guessing yourself. Line your debts up either by highest interest rate first, which saves you the most money, or by smallest balance first, which gives you a fast win to build momentum on. Both of them work. Starting with the highest rate saves you a little more money over the whole payoff. Starting with the smallest balance gives you a faster feeling of progress that keeps you going. Honestly, the gap between the two methods is tiny next to the gap between doing this at all and letting the debt drift for another year. The only approach that truly fails is the one where you keep changing your mind halfway through. Choose your order and throw every spare dollar at the debt sitting on top of the list until it is gone. You have the hardest stretch behind you now, the money that was slipping out of your life every month. Everything up to this point was defense, plugging the small holes your money kept draining through. From here on, the rules do the opposite. They pull money back in and put it to work. If any of this is making your shoulders drop even a little, subscribe and stick around, because the next set is where an ordinary paycheck quietly turns into real security. Now, the money that grows while you sleep. Rule 25. Take the full employer match before you do anything else with investing. If your job offers to match part of whatever you put into a 401k, that is not a perk. It is a piece of your own pay that you only receive if you reach out and claim it. On a $60,000 salary, A common match can hand you around $1,800 a year entirely free. Leaving it sitting there is a raise you are turning down quietly every single month. Rule 26. Automate your investing so it happens before you can feel it leave. The same trick that builds your savings builds your wealth. Set a fixed amount to move into your investments on payday, then let it run completely untouched. Money you never see land in your checking account is money you never learn to miss. And money you do not miss is money that gets to keep growing. Rule 27. Buy the whole market instead of chasing the winner. A low-cost index fund holds hundreds of companies at once, which spares you the impossible job of guessing the one stock that beats them all. Over the long run, the broad market has returned about 10% a year on average before inflation and closer to 7% after it across nearly a century of data. The hot stock everyone is talking about is already priced for the hype by the time it reaches you. The index just quietly owns a slice of whichever companies end up winning. Rule 28. Watch the fees, because 1% is not the harmless little number it pretends to be. Say you have $100,000 invested for 30 years. A fund charging a fraction of a percent versus one charging a full percent does not cost you a rounding error at the end. It costs you more than $180,000. Money that flows to the fund company instead of into your account. Cheap index funds exist for exactly this reason. There is almost never a good excuse to pay more. Rule 29. Fill your tax-advantaged accounts in a simple, fixed order. First, put enough into your 401k to grab the entire employer match. Next, feed a Roth IRA where your growth comes out tax-free later in life. Then circle back and add more to the 401k. For 2026, the IRS lets you contribute up to $24,500 to a 401k and up to $7,500 to an IRA. A Roth is money you have already paid tax on, so it grows and comes out later without the government taking a second bite, which is a rare and valuable thing. Almost no one gets anywhere near those ceilings, and that is perfectly fine. The order is what matters, not the maximum. Rule 30. Stop checking your portfolio every single day. Watching it swing hour to hour only tempts you into selling at the worst possible moment. The people who do best are usually the ones who set the whole thing up well and then mostly leave it alone. A down year is not a signal to run for the exit. It is the sale price, and the automated investor keeps calmly buying straight through it. Check your accounts a few times a year and go live your life the rest of the time. Rule 31. Start now, because time does far more of the work than money does. A person in their 20s who invests $200 a month and never raises it can reach about $244,000 in 30 years, having put in only $72,000 of their own. Make it $500 a month, and it grows past $600,000. The first 10 years feel almost pointless because the balance is still mostly just your own deposits stacked up. The last 10 years are where it stops looking like saving and starts looking like a fortune, because by then the growth is busy earning growth of its own. So the best day to begin was years ago, and the second best one is today. Rule 32. Refuse to let your spending rise every time your income does. This is the trap that keeps even high earners broke. A raise arrives, and somehow the nicer apartment, the newer car, and the bigger everything swallow it whole before it ever reaches your savings. Instead, send most of every raise straight to your savings rate before your lifestyle gets a chance to notice it exists. Grow your income while you hold your costs flat, and the widening gap between the two becomes your freedom. Rule 33. Keep your housing to a sane share of what you earn. Rent or a mortgage is the single biggest number in most budgets, which means it is also the one place where a good decision quietly pays you back for years and a bad one traps you for just as long. A rough guide is to keep it closer to a quarter or a third of your take-home pay than to half. Stretch here, and every other rule on this list gets harder. Stay reasonable here, and everything else suddenly has room to breathe. Rule 34. Apply the capsule idea to your biggest categories. A smaller wardrobe of pieces that all work together means less money spent, less laundry to do, and less time standing in front of a closet feeling stuck. The same logic runs through a kitchen stocked with only the tools you actually use. Getting dressed stops being a decision. Cooking stops being a scavenger hunt. The calm you feel is really just the absence of a dozen tiny frictions you had stopped even noticing. Rule 35. Spend on time before you spend on more things. The purchases that make people happiest are usually the ones that hand back an hour or remove a headache, not the ones that fill another shelf. If money can delete a chore you dread or shorten a commute that drains you, that is often the single richest way you will spend it all year. A thing sits in a corner. Time bought back gets folded into the rest of your life. Rule 36. Run a no-spend day or a whole no-spend week whenever things start to feel loose. Buy nothing but the true essentials and watch how many reflex purchases come rising to the surface the moment you tell yourself no. It is not about deprivation. Do it for a week and you will find the reflex buys hiding in plain sight, the ones your budget never flagged because each one felt far too small to matter on its own. Rule 37. Track your net worth once a month and then stop there. One number, everything you own minus everything you owe, checked on the same day each month. That alone is enough to see the trend without drowning in daily noise. Apps that slice your spending into 40 color-coded categories mostly generate guilt. One clean number, moving in the right direction over time, generates something far more useful, which is momentum. Rule 38. Insure the disasters and self-insure the rest. Buy real coverage for the events that could genuinely wipe you out. The health crisis, the totaled car, the lawsuit. Then skip the tiny ad on warranties and protection plans on cheap gadgets, because those are built to profit from your fear, not to protect you. The little plan on a $40 device is priced so the seller comes out ahead on average. The insurance on your health and your home is priced so that you come out ahead on the day everything goes wrong. Cover the events that could sink you and quietly carry the small stuff yourself. Rule 39. Say the money out loud with the people you share it with. Silence is where financial stress does its best growing, and a partner or a family kept in the dark cannot help you steer. One honest conversation a month about what is coming in, what is going out, and what you are building toward does more good than any app on your phone. Money handled in the open, together, stops feeling anywhere near as heavy as money carried alone. Rule 40. Decide what enough looks like in a real number and write it down. Hardly anyone ever draws a finish line, so they run forever and mistake the exhaustion for ambition. A retired teacher named Sylvia worked out that her calm, contented life cost a specific and fairly modest amount each year, and the moment she named it, the pressure to keep grabbing for more simply lifted off her shoulders. She stopped measuring herself against people chasing a number twice as large and half as happy. Naming her enough did not shrink her ambition. It aimed it. When you know your own number, the other 39 rules stop feeling like restrictions and start feeling like a map. Because now, every one of them points somewhere. That is the whole trick. A richer, calmer life is not the one with the most crammed into it. It is the one where your money and your space finally do only what you ask them to. Notice what none of these 40 rules actually required. Not a bigger salary, not a windfall, not some secret that nobody else has. Every last one of them was about keeping and directing the money already moving through your hands right now, which leaves one honest question hanging in the air. Why did nobody teach us this earlier, back when it would have spared us the hard years? If you want the ground floor underneath all of it, the plain money lessons most of us were supposed to learn in school and somehow never did, that is the natural place to go next. Before you do, though, tell me one thing down in the comments. Which of these 40 rules did you already know but quietly stopped following, and which single one are you starting tonight? If a specific number in here changed how you look at your own accounts, put it below so the next person who scrolls by sees it too. And if you have lived some version of this yourself, the clutter, the 2 a.m. math, the day it all finally got simple, tell that story, because someone reading right now needs to hear it from a real person far more than they need to hear it one more time from me.